Hey everybody, welcome back to the Bill and Ray Show. I'm out in the torch shop going to make a marble, and I'm going to play around with some ideas of making little planets inside the marble. So I've been intrigued for years. I see other artists that do this. I've got a couple of little pieces already kind of made up here before, and I'm going to try one of those in the finished marble. But first I'm going to try and demonstrate building one of these little things up and kind of how I went and made my attempt at this idea. So I've got a rod of rust here with a little bit of a thin end pulled out. And I'm going to add, this is blue spruce, just going to add a little bit of random color. And then I've got some butterscotch. And this is going to melt down to be a little sphere. Then I need a thin end. I pulled this out on a 5mm rod. I pulled out kind of a thinner piece here at the end. And this is kind of the post to hang on to this. So we got our little multicolored blob. We're going to fuse this to a little handle. And then we're going to cut this off. And then we're going to pull off a little bit of excess glass. And then we'll try and kind of heat this on the end and heal that up and round it out. So at the end of the day, most likely you're going to see from this end. So one idea is you're just going to plunge this into the core of a Vortex marble, and I'm going to do that. But I'm also going to try and do this encapsulating this. I'm going to do it as a piece that can be sort of added on. So I need enough glass to work with to do kind of this encasement. And this has been kind of the crux of this. It's a little tricky to get this right. Need to get this hot, hot, hot. And the idea is with the clear handle, the clear just disappears into the clear, and it leaves this little colored ball inside there. But easier said than done. Done this a couple times and it hasn't really gone all that smoothly. Because as you push that in, you also push in a column of air. So try and heat it from this side back to the face. So try and get the heat to just kind of chase that bubble out of there. Give it a chance. So that was my first thought, was to encapsulate it before trying to use it. And it turns out that whole process is kind of tricky in its own right. Perhaps not necessary. So, moving on. We'll use our large rod that we're going to build off of. Clean up this hand. We're going to pick one of our previously made marble planets, a little planetoid. Trying all kinds of tricks here to get it to settle into a round shape. I haven't done this very much, as you might have noticed. I did do a couple of successful small marbles. It seemed to have gone a little bit better than this. I was expecting to not quite be struggling so much. So from the side, it still looks kind of gnarly. From the front, it might not. Well, clearly that didn't go as good as my sample test units I did like yesterday. And I'm still kind of curious. I think the distorted part of it will be somewhat hidden. So, the other idea on how to do these I'm nervous about this being too cold. So we're just going to do a touchdown and melt in. Well, a design idea in progress. So the next addition to this silly marble process, I made a cane yesterday, and I'll throw in some video. I might put some video at the very end of this marble and show how I made this. So this was basically tubing that was fumed inside with lines, a lot of fuming, collapsed down to a solid rod, twisted, pulled out. It's got a lot of manipulations. It's got a lot of little air, bubbly stuff in it, a lot of fuming. But I wanted to see if I can use this as a background. So one thing throughout my process of doing glass for all these years, I like to look at other people's finished work, sometimes even see in person or more likely on video how they made something, and then I tend to go at it trying to do my own wrong way. I'm not trying to directly do exactly what someone else did. Maybe I'm trying to do exactly what someone else did, but I can't quite do it right. So I wind up coming up with my own way of doing things, which I've always enjoyed that process of discovery and trying to see what makes sense to me. And sometimes it's an evolution that takes years to keep doing something and coming up with different ideas of how to go about it. So this is, like I said, something I've been sort of wanting to do for years, and as I will find in this one, it's like trying to get this detail to a teeny little speck, because really what I've got going here, these little initial buildups are way too big. That's part of the reason it's hard to plunge it in there and get it trapped as a encapsulated sphere. The smaller they are, the easier it would be to just plunge it in there. And I contemplated different ideas about the clear. Do you really want the clear plunger to be just a point or a rod that's kind of like the same size, maybe, so you don't get that air trap around it as you push it in? There's a lot of little things to consider there. Trying to make it more into a marini. Take a slice of something and just, maybe it doesn't have to be all round. Maybe it's just the front, it's got some curvature to it, and you basically just push it in there like a little flat chip of a marini with your colors on there. Which doesn't have to be, be a marini. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. I could do exactly the same thing I just did, only instead of building up a little ball, just excuse me, cutting a little chip out of it. Maybe that's how you get something really tiny. Sip of water from our mug. Ray just ordered this mug up off our site. So he was able to pick out, talk about pick out, there goes a dog hair in there. Pick out, started with one of the graphics of one of the dragons that we've got online, but she was able to add other graphics to the mug. This one's got a blue handle and blue interior. Turned out I just really like it. So there's two different dragons. One is, it's a his and hers dragon, plus our new Aspen Hot Glass logo. And I came in just the other day, and this looks really cool. Turned out great. Alright, well, whether they look like planets or something else, they're in there. So now I've got some dark amethyst. I'm going to lay down a couple bands of this. And okay, got lots of room in between. I'll grab some Rhapsody and do some more lines. So the back is going to be just black. The internet's been acting weird lately. I don't know what's going on here. Yeah, life's been pretty weird lately, I guess, so why not the internet be weird? Okay, just trying to let these guys heat in on their own. Okay, shape up a good cone, and we're going to pull out the tip here. And at this point, I'm going to do some black backing. Okay, well, getting there. think I did get the substrate a little overly warm there. When you lay down that stringer, my idea is to not be disturbing the pattern too much, but I'm probably going to be able to see some distortions that are introduced. Using a little pressure here to get that cone going. Yeah, well, unfortunately, I think it's just going to magnify, and these are going to look like some very strange objects in there. Well, obviously, I haven't gotten this planetoid concept squared away just yet, but that's the whole process here. Try something. Maybe someone will give me some feedback and tell me how the heck to do this. Okay. Time to start filling in the back. Well, I think these planets are hurling through space at a high velocity, and that's caused them some distortions. So things you can do in a little 1-inch marble, at least in my experience, sometimes turns out quite different than doing these larger marbles, and the optics are kind of different. You'd think it would just be all scaled, same thing, but just different scale, but that's not been my experience. One of the test pieces I did yesterday, I used a little ball of jackpot, which is a sparkling kind of dark green glass, and it worked great. Didn't crack. Stayed a nice little round ball on the interior. So some of these steps, I know it can be done. Execution today was not what I wanted, but I will learn some things from this experience and share my ups and downs with you all. Player seems to have failed me. So our winter weather is continuing. We woke up at 10 degrees. It was down just a touch below zero a couple days ago. Little bit of residual snow on the ground, but hopefully there's lots of snow up in the mountains, but it seems like we haven't had much snow down at our elevation. But sometimes we get the most snow will come in March, so still plenty of winter left here in Montana. Okay, that's probably enough glue on there. Yeah, we hope everyone out there is hanging in there and doing good. We'll keep an optimistic lookout for our winter season. Had some activity on our Square online store, which added a whole lot more stuff on there. It's starting to get noticed a little bit. We've had, well, I still have a store on Etsy that I've got just my cabinet knobs on there. And it's had some activity there, but it's hard to get online attention these days. A lot of competition for attention. This time of year can be a little challenging after the holiday season, but I've done art fairs and been, a member of our artist co-op and a couple different artist shop things, and it's like there's always an excuse for why things are kind of funky. So we deeply appreciate anyone that's hanging in there and watching these videos and throwing us a like. It means a lot to us to keep us going. Okay, on the back side we've got some aqua, some green, some sparkling blue. Some nice shark skin pattern, snake skin pattern, whatever, with that fuming on the back. This green from Greasy Glass. No, is that right? No, Glasstronics, sorry. And Unobtanium. Oops. Yeah, a little bubbly spot. Okay. Yep, I'll get all this in first to get ahead of myself. Getting distracted. We have to melt these lines in before we can rake them. And they have to really be really well melted in. second so it doesn't go too wonky. Alrighty, well, here's what it is. Kind of pause here a minute as we transition to the backpack. Make sure that glass gets heated up enough to move easily. Back. Oh, jeez, I picked up there, shouldn't have. Look where we started. Try to do this rake all as continuous as possible. Bubble that came up here. I'm going to submerge that. All kinds of craziness going on today. Yep, that's real life. Okay. See how big this marble is. Hang out here for a second before we move on with the punty. These first punties are just pretty much just a hot punty. I don't really want a delicate connection. So I think at the end of this video I'll tag on some other clips of making that pane that I used in the background, starting with a section of tubing and fuming that and collapsing that. I made that over at the other torch bench here. I've got a different camera set up there that can zoom in, but I can't find a remote to it. Oh, I just found it. I know it'd be sitting around here somewhere. I think I can see it right now. A lot easier to use the remote to navigate the menu and different settings and zoom and whatnot. Trying to use the camera itself mounted up on an overhead look that's kind of awkward. It's an older video camera, but it does okay. It's what I use to video the pendant making video that I did back when we had our store, and everybody asked, how did you do that? And the original video, everybody complained because I didn't show the finished item, and frankly that one after it came out of the kiln was not very exciting looking, so it wasn't really worth adding that to it. But the point was, it was in our store looping on a little display, and it was sitting right above all the pendants that I had made, so you didn't really need a visual of what they look like because it's right there in front of you. But it kind of avoided the endless question of, how do you do that? It's like, well, watch the videos. Right there. And that video is up to about 1.7 million views on YouTube after 13 years of being up there. And I've got a short version of it, and the one that got all the views was on my original William Grout channel, and there's the same basic video as on the Bill and Ray channel, but it doesn't get nearly as many views as the original, which is purely just YouTube being weird. Before, that video went up a long time ago, before YouTube changed their monetization rules and stuff, when that video was first running and getting lots of views, I got a check for $100 from YouTube. That's all I ever got out of that video. And that my other channel, that's not monetized, so might be someday. I keep collecting some more viewers. primarily just where I put the clips of finished marbles, which I used to have to kind of patch into my eBay listings. Now eBay lets you put in a little video along with your pictures. That took a ridiculous number of years before they incorporated that feature. So there's hundreds and hundreds of videos of finished marbles on my YouTube page channel. Yeah, my old phone that's been using lately to stream YouTube, I don't know what's going on with that, but it didn't seem to. Yesterday I had trouble with it too. One thing about Bill and Ray show is we got a lot of devices around here, so I have options. Pretty old school. We still have, well, I still have numerous desktop computers that I use, including the one that's helping me record this video. One in the office that helps edit the videos. One in the big shop where I hang out once in a while, making beer and playing guitar and messing around with listening to music and whatnot. One out at the telescope. Okay, got our little pill shaped here. Kind of sad how much this hardware ages. We've got run through quite a few laptops. We've got a laptop right now out in the big shop that is really about the only thing I'm hanging on to it now is that you can set it up and run the laser etcher, cutter. But of course, numerous older machines can't run Windows 11. putting that off for a while, see whether Microsoft releases a friendlier version for old computers, or just have to use the hack, bypass their silly requirements. The industry continues to evolve, and part of the game is to make old gear obsolete. That's kind of the story of technology. I mean, even the old stuff we had in the house when I was growing up, the old phonograph, the old black and white TV. I remember way back to when we just had before we even had a black and white TV. Well, we had some version of it, but it used to be a cabinet that had a phonograph in it, and a little TV with a round image. Actually, I don't know that I was alive when that was in the living room, because we had a lot of home movies. So I watched a lot of home movies when I was really little, and then I got it in my head that that's what really happened in my life. And as it turns out, some of that did not happen in my life. Funny how that goes. And my music came back on. How weird is that? Okay, well, I'll punch you over and work on the back side now. Yeah, oh my gosh, all my planets are totally a disaster. Oh well. Oh man. Definitely not the droids I came for. I think there's just a lot of manipulations to create a vortex marble that probably are not very conducive. It'd be better just to avoid that shaping into the cone and just do more of a fishbowl marble. yeah, best to keep a sense of humor about these things, and you guys all get to hear me rattle on about what I was trying to do or wanted to do. The reality is, if I just zipped it and you saw the finished marble, you'd be like, wow, that's so cool, how'd you do that? And then I wouldn't have to explain how that is not what I wanted at all. Well, the reality is of these larger marbles, it takes the investment of a couple hours of work to make one of these, only to find out it's not what you wanted. So invest quite a bit of time doing R&D on new techniques. A lot of people I've had through the years say, they wanted me to make such and such. I just don't really do custom work. It just has not worked out well for me in the past, so I basically just don't. But even when I want to do, not for that customer, but think, oh, that's a good idea, I should figure that out. But oftentimes, it's a considerable R&D cycle. Even if it's something so simple as doing the same thing in different colors. Glass is not just a paint by numbers game. The interaction, plus just visually, I learned this a long time ago doing soft glass beads, that people want certain colors. And one of the beads that I made a bajillion of, the ribbon cane beads, it took me a lot of trial and error, hundreds of different color combinations to come up with things that looked good and were consistent. And so people would be like, why can't you just do it like this but with a different green? And it's like, well, for one, there's only just so many different colors. I don't have an infinite palette. And then the interaction, your eye perceives color differently when it's adjacent to another color. So if they're really close together, your eye messes around with stuff like that. Some things, black and white, usually your brain resolves that to black and white. You don't generally come up with colors or shades of gray. But for a lot of colors, you think, oh, I got this figured out. Put these two colors together, make a cane, make a bead out of it. It doesn't look good. It does not look like what you wanted. Because when you put those two colors close to each other and look at it from a normal viewing distance, your brain interprets that in a certain way. And a lot of complications that people don't realize. Okay, I think I got this back done. Well, these characters certainly are going through some kind of time distortion rift. So to be continued, how to make the little gizmos that I would like to see in here. And you can see a little bright spot on the surface of the hot glass. It's either a little speck of carbon, or something like that, or a little bubble. Either one will produce you'll just see a really bright little spot. So sometimes you just have to go on and fish those out and paint it up. Okay, I'm going to do one more heat for good measure. A lot of twists and turns went into the making of today's marble. Over the last couple of days experimenting. Disappointed I didn't pull off a better example because I did a couple test pieces that were quite a bit better. But we'll polish her up and get her in the kiln, and it's always interesting to see it the next day and see exactly what happens in the kiln. Kind of keep that until I look around at the reflections of the lights. It's pretty clean. I think we got it. Oh, the tune's getting back to life. Things are looking good. We got done with this one. There's always another Another marble, another week. But I don't mean to downplay this. This is a cool marble. It's just got a little space-time distortion in there that I didn't expect. But now, if I told you that I went through all that work to get that exact distortion, you'd think, man, that's awesome. Alright guys, take care of yourselves, take care of everyone around you, be kind, and you might want to check out some of the footage at the end of this video, see how I made that cane. Anywho, you guys all take care, we'll see you again next time.